They say history begins with writing, but what if there was a chapter long before ink touched clay? A chapter erased not by time, but by water? Imagine this, a world that thrived before the ocean swallowed it whole. Cities of unimaginable beauty, towers that reached the heavens, and knowledge that could rival our own. And then, in a single catastrophic moment, it was all washed away. This is the story of the Antediluvian world, the civilizations that existed before the Great Flood. For centuries, whispers of this lost age have haunted our myths, scriptures, and legends. The Bible speaks of giants Nephilim who roamed the earth in days before the flood, the Sumerians. The oldest known civilization wrote of the Anunnaki, divine beings who descended from the heavens to shape mankind. The Greeks told of Atlantis, a mighty island swallowed by the sea. And yet, each of these stories points to the same haunting truth. Humanity may not be as young as we think, but let us begin not with the flood itself, but with the world that came before it, the Antediluvian age. It was said to be an era when men lived for centuries, when kings ruled for tens of thousands of years, and when human and divine blood mingled. The Sumerian king list, an ancient clay tablet discovered in Mesopotamia, records monarchs who reigned not for decades, but for millennia. Names like Alulim, said to have ruled Eridu for 28,800 years. To modern ears, it sounds impossible, fantasy, myth. Yet the Sumerians carved these records with purpose, and they believed them to be truth. If such reigns were exaggerated, what inspired them? Could it be that humanity once walked alongside beings of greater knowledge and power, creatures remembered as gods across the world? Similar legends echo the same story. In Mesoamerica, the Maya and Aztecs spoke of great cycles of destruction, worlds born and destroyed again and again by floods, fire, and chaos. In India, the Vedic texts describe Manu, the first man, who was warned by a divine being of a coming flood. He built the great boat, survived the deluge, and repopulated the earth. Sound familiar? It should, for it mirrors the tale of Noah, of Utnapishtim in the Epic of Gilgamesh, and of countless other flood heroes across cultures. How is it that civilizations separated by oceans tell the same tale, unless, perhaps, they all remember the same event? Picture the world before the flood, not the primitive tribes we often imagine, but something far stranger. Megalithic cities rising from plains and mountains, structures so advanced we still struggle to understand them. The Great Pyramids of Egypt, the massive stones of Baalbek in Lebanon, or the impossibly precise walls of Sacsayhuaman in Peru. Are these echoes of forgotten engineering? Did our ancestors possess knowledge we have lost? Some researchers believe so. They argue that humanity may have developed advanced civilizations long before the recognized dawn of history. Civilizations wiped out in a cataclysmic flood around 12,000 years ago. Interestingly, this date coincides with the end of the last ice age, when rising seas swallowed vast tracts of land. Could this have been the real-world flood remembered in myth? Consider this. More than 10 million square miles of coastline vanished underwater when the glaciers melted. If cities once flourished there, their ruins now lie hidden beneath the oceans, waiting to be discovered. Off the coast of Japan, the Yonaguni Monument, a massive, stepstone structure, lies submerged, sparking fierce debate. Is it a natural formation, or the remains of a lost city swallowed by the waves? In India, the ruins of Dwarka, mentioned in the Mahabharata, have been found beneath the sea, with stone walls and streets eerily preserved. Could these be remnants of the Antediluvian world? Let us not forget Atlantis. Plato described it as a mighty island beyond the Pillars of Hercules' modern Gibraltar, that sank in a single day and night of misfortune. For centuries, scholars dismissed it as allegory, yet modern geology has revealed evidence of sudden, catastrophic floods in human prehistory, such as the bursting of glacial lakes that unleashed torrents powerful enough to reshape entire continents. Was Atlantis a memory of one such civilization erased overnight? But the flood was not just destruction, it was judgment. In nearly every version of the story, mankind had grown corrupt, arrogant, or violent. The book of Genesis speaks of a world filled with wickedness, where the sons of God took human wives and gave birth to giants. The gods of Mesopotamia complained that humans were too noisy, disturbing their rest. In these tales, the flood was not merely an accident of nature, it was divine retribution. If we take these stories at face value, a chilling picture emerges that there was once a world of extraordinary power, a golden age of humanity that was deliberately erased. Were the Nephilim real? Were they rulers, kings, or perhaps something far darker? Now imagine the moment the skies broke open, the earth trembling, oceans rising, Mountains splitting. Imagine watching your world, your cities, your knowledge, your entire way of life swallowed in an unstoppable tide. To the survivors, it would have seemed as though the gods themselves had declared war upon mankind. And then, silence. The world after the flood was a graveyard. Civilization had to start again from scratch. The survivors carried with them only fragments of memory, which became myths. A story here, a tablet there, an oral tradition passed from father to son. Enough to keep the memory alive, but never enough to rebuild what was lost. This is why history seems to begin suddenly around 5,000 years ago with the Sumerians. But perhaps it did not begin there. Perhaps it was a rebirth, the first flicker of civilization after the Great Erasure. And so we are left with questions more haunting than answers. Were there truly civilizations before the flood? Did they possess technologies and knowledge we can scarcely imagine? Were they destroyed by the wrath of gods or by the cold, indifferent hand of nature? And if such a catastrophe happened once, could it happen again? Because the sea is still rising, the earth still shifts, and buried beneath the waves, under layers of stone and silt, may lie the bones of forgotten cities, silent witnesses to a chapter of humanity we are only beginning to remember. One thing is certain, every myth, every legend, every scrap of ancient memory tells us the same chilling truth. We are not the first, and perhaps we will not be the last.
Subscribe and step beyond time, where history's secrets come alive.